everybody, good to see you again. Thanks so much for dropping in, checking out this video. I have been working really hard lately, getting all of the artwork done for my next comic book issue, M Squad #2, and I'm super happy to report that the book is completely drawn. All 40 pages are done. That includes cover, the inside back cover, as well as one alternate cover, which I'm very excited to sneak peek for everybody very soon. But this video, now that that work is out of the way, I still am in the mood to draw. And one of the things I really like to do is I like to work on these sketch cards. I don't know if anybody's ever seen these. These are small little pieces of Bristol board that are about the size of a baseball trading card, and they are super fun to do small sketches on of different characters. And so today I wanted to show you what that process is, some of the tools that I use, and the mindset I go through as I do one of these sketch cards, and kind of the speed of how quick it is to do one of these fun little sketch cards. So sit back, enjoy, and I'm going to flip the camera around and show you live what I'm working on. Okay. So like I said, this is the sketch card. It's pretty small, which is nice. So most of the time you're going to be working with like headshots, stuff like that. You're not really going to do much of necessarily of a full figure on a sketch card because it's just too small. There's just not enough real estate there. So just fleshing out the shapes. Eyes will be there, nose there, mouth there. All right, and I thought I would be talking a lot more. So, yeah, so here we go. I'm just now I'm tightening up some of the details, right? So I've got the basic shapes, and now I'm going to carve out more of where the specific details go. Where are the eyes? Where are the folds in the brow from the grimace? What parts will be in shadow, what parts will be light, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to switch that angle, so that's the shoulder pad there. And then most of the real, what I would say is the real drawing is done with the ink. So that's kind of all I need to go, okay, this is Wolverine. I get where we're going here. So then I'm going to take this is a Faber-Castell, and it's probably backwards because I had to flip the camera, but it's the small, what they call the small size. And when I'm drawing with the ink, this is where I can make, now I could sit and go and do complete pencils, meaning I could make sure that every line is perfect in pencil and then basically just go ahead and trace it in ink after. But for me, I know I like to do this piece of it where I have the opportunity to make adjustments. So like the eyes or the nose, or whatever needs to be adjusted as I go, I like that feeling. If I'm just tracing my own pencils, then there's, I don't know, to me it doesn't, it kind of goes, what's the point, right? So I feel like really more drawing with the ink for me is the way to go. Now, if I think I've said this in other videos, if you've seen any of the other videos on my channel, if I was going to hand this off to someone else to ink it, so I was going to draw the pencils and then go, here, professional inker who is much more skilled than I am, do the inks on this, please. If I was going to do that, then I would 100% have to have much more tight finished pencils. You can't really provide an inker with sort of a half of an idea and then say, by all means, go and figure it out. You're just asking for misunderstanding or misinterpretation. The inker will turn around and maybe do something that I didn't want done, or a choice I wouldn't have made. So then I would be much more precise with my pencils. So, but when you're doing it yourself, that is one of the beauties of doing things yourself, is you can be a little more relaxed, and then figure it out as you go. So I do kind of, as I'm drawing, I make sort of mental notes to myself about things I like, maybe something I don't like, things I want to change, etc. So this is the basic outline, the contour line of the image. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase the pencil lines because I am going to color this. But the reason that I don't do more, I will go back in afterwards and I will ink more for sure. The reason that I don't do that is because the real small fine lines, even though the Copic markers that I use typically don't make the ink bleed per se, they can blur and smudge if you have really, really tiny fine lines. So what I like to do is, like I said, do this contour piece of it, then do the colors, then go over it with either with all the rest of the inks, coloring in the solid black areas, adding all the shading and the hatching and all that kind of stuff, you'll see. So now I'm going to jump into the colors. So one of the things that I have learned with the Copic colors is that it's best for me to work from light to dark. I'm sorry, check that. To work from dark to light. The reason is I like a more blended look to the colors, and if you put a dark color on a light color, it will give you a hard edge. If you go with a dark color first and then you go over it with the light color, it will really soften up that edge. So hopefully you'll see as we go through here what I'm talking about. So I'm starting with a darker kind of this is E31 Brick Beige. E31 Brick Beige. if anybody's a Copic fan or collector. So, and that's going to give me some shadowed skin tones. Then I come in with my E01, which is Pink Flamingo. And that's going to be kind of my medium. So not only am I coloring in these areas, I'm also coloring over the darker areas that I just put in. And what that does for me is, again, it sort of blends those areas. And then the lightest color I'm putting in is E00. So that's my lightest skin tone that I'm using for this. Typically, if I'm doing a much larger drawing where there's more real estate, I might go ahead and work with maybe 4 or 5 different tones. But with this one, being that it is so small, 3. So I have a shadow, a medium, and a light. That's pretty much the extent of what I'm going to work with there. So now the next part is yellow, and with this classic Wolverine costume, there is a lot of yellow. So my dark is going to be YR15. It's called pumpkin yellow. So it's not quite orange, but I want to use that as my essentially dark yellow. You can't really add black to a yellow to get a yellow shadow, if you will. Yellow tends to slip more into that orange kind of tone when it gets darker. So I found that works for me. Same thing actually with reds. Now there's no red in this piece, but like when I've done stuff with great character Spider-Man, right? A lot of red on the costume. And so how do you shadow the red parts? How do you do a dark red? So you can do dark red. There are darker reds. But actually, in the flip side of that is how do you do a light red? So light red is pink, but I don't want to put pink highlights all over. So actually, if you transition from red into sort of a reddish orange and then an orange, maybe depending on the light source, even a yellow, that will work as the highlight for red. Okay, so now we're going to my medium. This is cadmium yellow. This is a Y15 cadmium yellow. And again, going over the areas that I already colored. And it will soften those edges. Sometimes I will, if I really want to soften, if it's a big area, you can almost, with the brush tips, you can sort of scrub it, if you will, and that will really soften up the edges between the light and the dark with Copics. Sorry, I keep trying to. I'm obviously looking down at the card and not always looking up at the camera, so I can't tell what you can see and or if I've moved the camera at all. So my apologies there. I can really blend that out. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my last yellow, the lighter yellow, which is Y06, which just says yellow. And that's going to hit my highlight spots. Again, using the light yellow to go over the areas that I've already colored to get that softer blending in there. Okay, and then the blue. So there's a little bit of blue, and let's see, actually, so what I'm going to do, this is another thing where I'm kind of going on the fly. So normally Wolverine's, the mask part of Wolverine, the wing part is black. His stripes are black, and his shoulder pads are more of a bright blue. But if I put this black against this black, it all blends together. And so what you sometimes will do is do what's called a halo or a highlight to help separate that out. So I think that's what I'm going to do here with the same blue. So first I'm starting with a B05 as kind of my blue. So Wolverine's costume has this kind of, I don't know the exact color. It's almost like a what they call a Honolulu blue. So if you're sports fans, I think the Detroit Lions have a Honolulu blue. I think that's the kind of the blue of Wolverine. So these areas, the top of his shoulders, so you can tell the lightest part of the yellow is at the top, under his chin is dark. So that means your light is coming from the top down. So where the light is hitting here, I'm going to add these, and on the top of the collarbone, those blue, and that'll help separate it from the rest. Now back to the shoulder pads. Now I'm going to go with a B02, which is Robin's Egg Blue. And in this case, there's just not enough showing to warrant a third lighter tone, so I'm just going to do the two-tone there. And then one more, well, actually there's going to be two more. So one thing, it's very, very subtle and very small. If I didn't do it, it'd probably be fine. But I have drawn little bits of his bottom gum. So I've got a R30 pale yellowish pink. And I'm going to just touch in those little parts of his gums. And then the color in the background. So let me show you very quickly the other X-Men cards that I've done the last couple days to give you an example of what I'm doing. So here's the first one I did, which was Cyclops. Again, I apologize for the flip. You see, like, my signature's backwards. The costume is a little backwards, but you get the idea. So because his costume and all the colors, I've got browns, yellows, blues, and reds. What it would be in a different color that wouldn't conflict with those. So I used green for the background. The next one I did was the Beast, Hank McCoy. Again, a lot of blue. I did green in the test tube, so red against the blue is a nice pop for the background there. And then the one I just finished before this video is Gambit. And again, browns, a little bit of blue, purple in his costume, so I went with green for a background. And so for Wolverine, I think I'm going to go red for his background. And so I have got it's called R27, which is cadmium red. Now all this, the wings on his costume is all solid black, so I can go around, but if I go over, it's going to be covered up with black ink, so that won't hurt anything. So I don't have to be quite as precise like here. But with the rest of it, I'll be more cautious. If you know you're going to ink something over, if this is all going to be inked over with black, save yourself the time and the effort and don't worry about it. So you can, if it's easier to make quick strokes and you get some of that red in there, no big deal. It's covering it up with solid black is a little bit of a shortcut. When you have those opportunities, take those shortcuts because they'll help you out. There we go. All right, nice red background for Wolverine. Okay, so now comes the inking, the rest of the inking. So now that I've got all that stuff in there, now I've got to tighten up and complete out the rest of the line work in the black areas. So the first thing I'm going to do is these big areas. This is I forget the manufacturer, but this is a Japanese brush pen that I bought online, which I really like. They make refills that you can just plug in. In the back part of the pen here, this is all the ink. And you just squeeze it to push more ink out to the brush, but it's really opaque. It dries really fast, and it's just a lot cleaner and neater than having an actual brush and a bottle of ink that I would have to clean every time. This you can just like a pen, you just put the cap back on and everything is hunky-dory. So I really like these brush pens. So you can see now, once you get this start to go, and I'm not trying to do everything with the pen. This pen, the end is too wide. It doesn't have the fine point that I want. So I'm going to keep going to sort of smaller pens to get the line weight and stuff that I want. So while that is kind of drying, it just takes a minute. I'm going to do a little bit of where I'm not touching the areas that I just inked. I'm going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So now I'm giving a larger, thicker line weight to the outline. Just to help again pop the figure forward from the background and separate some of the elements. This is a Tombow brush pen. This is it comes in a set of two. There's a gray and a blue, and the blue is a smaller, more firm tip. The gray one is the more flexible tip, but both are excellent. And then this is a Micron 05 that I like. I'm gonna come in here and just again sort of bump up the weight line, the line weight in a couple of these areas here, with like the tendons under the neck and stuff like that. Now you may be asking yourself, why didn't I do it in the beginning? Why didn't I just ink? If I knew I wanted these lines to be thicker, why don't I just draw them thicker to start with? Well, there's two reasons. One, if you remember, once I was done with the contour lines, the basic outlines of all the shapes, I then went in and erased. And when you erase, you have a habit, or not a habit, you have a tendency to thin out the lines that you've drawn because the eraser is pulling up a little bit of that ink. So I don't want to do that. So if I draw a thicker line, I'm going to have to go over it anyway because it may be thinned out, or it may, the eraser may pull up some of the ink, which I don't want. So it's easier to go over it. The other part is if I have the thicker line, as I'm doing the color, I run into more of a chance that it's going to bleed. It could bleed. So the thinner those initial lines are, makes it a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner later when I come in and finish up the inking. So this is the other Tombow pen I was talking about. This is the gray one or the black one. Obviously both have black ink, but this is the one with the slightly larger and more flexible brush tip, which I like as well. So now I'm just filling in the rest of the black areas of the costume. And then let's see. Yeah, and then we'll be just about done. There'll be a few after after I fill in all of the black areas of the costume. There will be some final rendering to add some shading, some more subtle shading to the other color areas of the costume. So there we go. So now we've got the solid black areas. Now I'm going to come in with my 0.1 micron, which is pretty small, and add things like the shading under the nose of the cowl, the little feathering of his frowny lines, because he's an angry guy. I'm going to give him some stubble on his chin, because I feel like Wolverine should always be looking like he needs a shave. He's a hairy little guy. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to cut in again to show like the shading of his cheekbones. We're going to add a few more little lines here as well. And then under his Adam's apple, under the Adam's apple, you've got some shading there, and then again under his neck is right under his chin as well. Underneath this tendon, between the neck and the tendon is another good spot. Do some shading, help push the shoulders back a little bit, and then I'm going to do some here as well. All right, and there is a, oops, here, that's that, I'll just do this. There, and we've got a yellow costume Wolverine sketch card to go along with the other ones. And then the last thing to do is to take my white Signo white gel pen and just finish it off up here in the top corner. So there we go. So I'm going to flip the camera back around and wrap this up. Okay, so that was the process of how I draw a sketch card featuring, in this case, Wolverine. So here's your blue and yellow Wolverine costume from the X-Men, from X-Men 97 on Disney Plus, if you watch that. From the X-Men comics from the 90s. But classic, can't go wrong with good old Wolverine. And as I did show in the video, I have a few other ones I've done from that series. So again, here's the Cyclops, We've got the Gambit card, and we've got the Beast. So again, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to trying to do more videos soon as we get into here. This is being recorded during the holiday seasons, and I hope to have some more available time to do some more drawing videos, to show you again my process and how things have changed new projects that I'm working on, and of course to give you that sneak peek next time of M Squad number 2, which I'm very excited to launch here in 2025. So again, thank you so much for everybody who celebrates. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we will talk to you again soon.